In today's video, I've got Niels Clement with me, and you might actually recognize Niels' face because Niels is the CMO of a lead gen funnel building software called Perspective. And Niels spends over $250,000 a month on paid ads. So that's why you might have seen him on some of your favorite social channels. And I asked Niels to come on today because not only is he a funnel expert and has grown Perspective to over 10 million in ARR with funnels, but he also has the insider info on people starting funnel building agencies and making their first 10K per month. So Niels, if someone watches to the end of this video, what can they expect to learn?
Well, first of all, man, very, very grateful to be here. Thank you so much for hosting me, Nick. And what can you expect to learn? So at the end of the day, right, as you just said, Perspective is a lead gen funnel builder, and many of our customers, we have over 7,000 active customers, and many of which are super successful funnel building agencies. And so in today's video, I want to really break down how they do that, from basically positioning themselves to running the entire service, show you exactly how to do it click by click, also winning your first couple of customers, and then essentially how to actually get to that first 10 grand a month, step by step, and leaving no question unanswered. That would be the goal.
Beautiful. And my question is Niels, do you think anybody can learn funnels within a few weeks and launch their very own agency?
Very good question, man. And at the end of the day, I would say 100% yes, just because we have so many young entrepreneurs coming into the software, coming into Perspective, coming into our ecosystem, basically not having founded a business ever before, and then all of a sudden spinning up a very successful, very profitable agency in a couple of months. And we have a bunch of very, very exciting cases that I can also dive a little bit deeper into, but so many young, successful entrepreneurs doing this as their first business. And so I would say definitely very, very high chance of succeeding if this is your first get-go.
Beautiful. Well, should we jump into it? Do you want to pull up your screen?
Let's go, man. So when I was doing my research for this pod, of course, I always ask myself the question like, hey, how can I provide the most value, right? And from what I know about your channel, from what I know about you, Nick, is like we need to go into the nitty gritty stuff. We really need to make sure that this is actionable stuff. And that is why, first of all, I prepared this little fig jam right here, running you through the entire high level process from positioning to how to actually deliver the service to winning your first clients. And then I'll actually show you, as I said, click by click, like how do you build a funnel in Perspective? How do you set up the ad creatives? How do you launch that campaign? And that is what I would say we're going to cover. First thing that I would actually love to start with, if that's okay, is the positioning topic, just because I feel like it's a thing that is often overlooked. And I would rather have early stage founders have that figured out first, because it doesn't feel that good if you build a business and you build your entire process around something where you then realize, oh, that was not necessarily the best thing to start with. And so that is where I personally appreciate starting.
Yeah, let's do that. And even before that, maybe we should talk about like what exactly is a funnel and why did businesses or companies actually need them?
Yeah, great question, man. So at the end of the day, what a funnel is, it's a sequence of pages that is meant to lead a user that ideally has never heard of you to being a paying customer. That is the core idea, right? So you design a sequence of pages, maybe also messages, emails, WhatsApp messages, iMessages that are meant to take a user from wherever they are within their mind to wanting to become a customer of yours. That is what funnels are about. And they, especially how we build funnels, or how Perspective is focused on building funnels, is we have a very unique point of view on that, because like back in the day, we ran a funnel agency ourselves. First of all, we ran a website agency, right? A design agency, and we built beautiful landing pages and beautiful websites, super complex. And then at the end of the day, we realized, oh, God damn it, like there's a lot of traffic on these, but people are not actually converting to paying customers. And so we had to figure out ourselves, how do we actually get there? How do we actually do that? And we found a bunch of interesting insights as it relates to the users' expectations today, with them, being on TikTok for hours and hours, like scrolling short form content. How can you actually match that expectation? And that is what we productized with Perspective. So I would say that is what a funnel truly is.
Yeah, totally. And I think that the big thing with funnels, right, is that it's going to help increase conversions, right? So if your typical conversion is, let's say 1%, right? So like for every 100 people that land on your website, 1% converts. If you could even switch that into 2% or up that to 3%, right? You're spending the same exact amount of money for double or triple the amount of leads, right? So that's where funnels can like basically be totally rocket fuel on businesses.
Yes. And we have the saying, if you are relying on a funnel within your business and you take that conversion rate from 1% to 2%, it's not only the conversion rate just increased, but that means you double your business, right? It's truly that way. If you like, if paid ads or funnels are a big part of your way of winning customers, it means doubling your business. That's how significant this stuff actually is. So yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, that's huge. All right. Well, so let's jump into the positioning here and how we can think about this.
Totally, man. And one thing that I would love to start out with is at the end of the day, right? Perspective really focuses on one clear use case, which is lead generation, right? And if we look out into what the market actually looks like, especially in the United States, when I was doing my research, I found out, okay, there's actually 24 million service businesses, service SMBs in the United States. And that right here is exactly what the opportunity is. Because if there are so many businesses that we can sell to, we can actually build a sustainable business, right? And we can actually build a business that reaches a significant size. And across our customer base, like the agencies that are building funnels for other companies, they roughly charge anywhere from $2,000 to maybe $3,000. Some are charging $5,000. I've seen retainers at $10,000 and above. But like the average, I would say, is roughly maybe at $2,700. And so that essentially means if we do the math, right, you need 30 clients out of the 24 million service businesses that are existing out there, 30 clients at $2,700 a month to make $1 million a year. So that is the main idea, right? It's actually not that many in terms of what the actual opportunity is. And the good news here as well is all of these people need leads, right? Like a business needs leads to exist. A business needs leads, especially a service business needs leads to grow and to generate revenue, which at the end of the day is their oxygen. Without leads, they wouldn't survive. And so that is essentially what the opportunity that we're looking into. And especially as it compares to different services, like if you're a young founder and you're considering, hey, maybe I want to start an agency business, what service should I actually deliver? And I would always say day and night, do lead generation. Why is that? Of course, I'm personally biased. But the good thing about this is if we compare it, for example, like to building a website, it's very, very hard to be replaced, right? Like you can have AI completely replace building beautiful websites and building nice websites. But if you own that entire process from front to finish, so you get people leads, and that is the value proposition you're selling, it's very, very hard for you to be replaced. And that is also very important, it's very low churn, right? So you can charge them a monthly retainer and people keep paying that retainer because you help them grow their business. And if you can do that, you have a very sustainable long-term business. And if we look into it specifically, there's two types of lead gen that are super successful and that check these boxes that I've just mentioned. It's basically recruiting and it's lead gen, because there's, at the end of the day, people need revenue. That's where lead gen comes in. We need service businesses. We need to provide service businesses with people that are interested in purchasing the product, purchasing the service. That's one part. And then when they have all these customers coming in, they need to fulfill these customers. So guess what? They need new people. And that's where recruiting comes in. That's actually a bigger use case that we're also seeing developing.
And on that point, I think if you go ask like any service business right now, or any business in general, like what's their biggest pain points? Like 90% of the time, it's going to be that we need more leads, we need more sales, right? Or we're having trouble hiring people to actually fulfill what we already have. So like those are 90% of the time when you speak to business owners, those are going to be the big pain points. And that's why it's so valuable to sell into those, right?
100%. And the good thing is it really applies to every single business, right? So the market here is huge. Now, the interesting thing as well, and that's what leads into the next step, is to pick an industry and to pick a specific industry is also very, very important from my point of view, because that then relates to how you actually deliver the service, right? So, for example, if I try to get customers for lawyers, that might be a different funnel, a different ad creative, and a different process that I need to use to get these customers versus when I try to get customers for a lawn mowing business, right? And so that's why I always recommend start by picking one specific industry and focus on that specific industry, because first of all, you'll resonate more with these people and you'll actually have a process that you can apply over and over again, no matter what client or how many clients you onboard, as long as they're within the same industry, right? And that's why I always say start local, like focus on one industry, ideally also locally, so you can actually go and talk to these people very specifically and resonate with them, and then thereafter expand, right? So when you have these 30, 40, 50 customers, maybe within that specific industry, go and figure out another industry, but keep it simple, start with one thing because you can apply it over and over again, and that's where the leverage is created. And now what does that actually look like, right? So because within Perspective, we've seen so many different agencies focusing on so many different businesses. We have insurance, real estate, law, medical, solar. I've seen a super successful agency doing millions a year doing recruiting for bakeries, right? There's like so many different industries and niches you can go into. But at the end of the day, the first thing that you always need to start with is build a funnel template once, and then you are able to sell it unlimited times, right? And I just brought a bunch of examples, and we'll look into what that actually looks like within Perspective, or in general, what does a funnel actually look like. But we've seen this work super well in B2B services, B2C services, coaching, solar, health, real estate, just a bunch of examples. We have more templates for insurance and law and all this good stuff, right? And that is where this entire thing clicks. That is the business model, because now you're able to focus on this one specific industry. You're able to generate very critical results for them, so they usually never churn. And that is where recurring revenue is generated, right? So if you win that one customer and you're actually able to fulfill them successfully, then you can win that second customer, apply that same proven process over and over again. And so, yeah, you can build it once and sell it unlimited times and keep stacking that revenue over time, which is really where the money is made.
Yeah, totally. I do this a lot. I actually have a friend that does a lot of online marketing and lead gen, and I know one client he's working with right now. I'll change up the industries just so like it's not super specific, but they're essentially trying to recruit tech salespeople. And to recruit tech salespeople, it's like, okay, you could obviously go to other tech companies, but they're going for entry level, right? So a lot of these people are actually going to come from different industries. So they're testing out all sorts of ad copy and funnels, saying like, hey, are you a let's say a medical sales rep, take this quiz, and at the end, it's following them to basically saying like, hey, you could have a better lifestyle if you were actually just in tech, right? And so like, there's all sorts of different ways you can run these funnels and think about where you're finding leads and how you're delivering them to these businesses.
Totally, man. Totally. And we also have some crazy cases, man. And I'm even surprised sometimes how crazy these cases actually are. But like a customer of ours, I recently talked to him, did an interview with him, and I think they scaled to $1 million a year within 6 months of actually starting the business, or not starting the business, but from near zero in revenue to almost $1 million a year with 2 people on the team. Wow. That is like that is a new type of leverage that is currently developing, especially with all the tech that is coming out, right? Especially AI and tools like Perspective and all that good stuff. How you can build these massively leveraged service businesses. Yeah,
totally. That's incredible.
Then what does it actually mean, and what does it actually look like in terms of delivering the service? So as I said, right, the first thing to always start with is, once you have your industry picked, once you know exactly what customer to focus on, you want to build that funnel template. You want to validate that process. That's the first thing that you want to do, and you want to be very clear on how to actually deliver the service, because only then it makes sense to win a customer for yourself, right? So first of all, we want to build the funnel in Perspective. And for that, I actually brought a fresh, clean Perspective account without a single funnel in it. And for the sake of this presentation, I think we can, for example, pick an industry like real estate, because it's a very common industry that many people focus on. Lots of money in there, lots of real estate agents. So definitely a very profitable niche to focus on. And so how we would want to start in this case, right, is we come into Perspective, we click on new funnel, we see a bunch of different templates. Now in this case, I would search for the one saying property valuation, because there's usually 2 types of lead gen that real estate agents do. It's either for finding homeowners that want to sell their property, right? That's one part. Or to actually sell the property. Now, in this case, this template is more focused on finding the homeowners. So we would just start with that. We can click through that entire thing, see the different questions that are asked for the evaluation. We can see an overview right here. Click on start with this template, and that's where the funnel editor basically loads. So that just takes a second. And as I said before, what Perspective is built on is our insights on how we think funnels should be built and why they convert better, right? You gave this example of like 1% conversion rate to 2% conversion rate. And we've done a lot of testing back in the day within our agency and actually came up with this product. So we've built what Perspective funnels are actually today with custom codes and lots of salaries and like, I think within 9 weeks was the average time we actually have been able to publish one of these funnels. And so we thought there just needs to be a better way. And so we put all of these learnings about creating campaigns that actually crush with funnels that have high conversion rates, and we put it into this product. So that is what Perspective is. And what are these learnings? A couple things here. So what you see first thing when this editor loads, you see that the canvas is a little bit different to the usual website builders maybe that you know, or the usual funnel builders that you know, because the canvas is mobile first. And why is that? If you're running any paid ad campaign, what you'll learn quite quickly is that roughly 90%, in our campaigns we see even higher values, but roughly 90% of all of the traffic, all of the people that are clicking on your ads are coming from mobile devices. So we want to make sure that it's optimized for mobile first. Yeah, we do have the opportunity to, of course, also build this out for desktop. It needs to be beautiful everywhere. That's totally fair and totally true. But we start always with mobile first because that is literally where 90% of your revenue will be coming from. So that's the first thing that we see here. Now, in general, of course, you will have everything that you know from any website builder within Perspective as well, right? So we have different elements, we have different layouts, we can move things around, we can adjust the copy, of course, freely, whatever we truly want to do. A couple of features that I personally enjoy, especially for building out a funnel fast, is, for example, if you click on this little plus icon here, then you have the all of the blocks that you can add to Perspective, right? And what we've also built out is section templates, because usually funnels and landing pages all follow a very similar format. And we have taken the most successful sections that we know, just put them into templates. So for example, if you want to build out this funnel for your client and your client says, hey, Niels, like, I want to make sure that I'm also very well represented on this page. I want to make sure that there's authority being generated, there's trust being generated. Cool. So what do? We go to the team section, just pick one that really speaks to us. In this case, it's this one. We click the little checkbox here, and then we can, of course, adjust it, move it around, add more items, whatever it truly is that we want to do. So quite straightforward, quite simple, drag and drop, done in a couple of minutes.
Do you have any frameworks or ways that people can think about what a funnel needs to include, right? So like, I'm looking at this looks awesome, right? But how do I know if I should be including, more customer testimonials, or if I should be putting a quiz here? Like, do you have any frameworks of how people can start thinking about that?
Yeah. Totally. And the beautiful thing is, with any of the templates that we have built out in Perspective, these are all proven across our customers, right? So they're always on the basis of successful funnels that we've seen. And so what you'll find is that any of the funnels that we have here and then that we'll show today, basically, first of all, include a strong landing page. That is the first thing. Then it's the start page that we're on right now. And you see that it's also quite long form in this case, with many, many different items. I can go into a little bit more detail here in a bit, but basically thereafter, the next biggest piece to that is actually the quiz that follows. Because then you'll see that we're asking a bunch of questions here, which are, of course, not only great for collecting the data that we actually need to, for example, set out a property valuation, or our customer or our clients to actually send out a property valuation, right? So we're collecting that data. But actually what we found is that this interactivity, so for visitors that land on the funnel to just like playfully be able to run through a landing page, essentially, that feels like a mobile app, is super fast and engaging, that actually helps in turn with driving conversions. So that is basically what the most important part of this is this interactivity piece of the funnel, because you not only collect so much more data, but it actually also helps with conversion, because people usually never drop off once they are on that first question. So once they have answered that first question, they usually answer all the questions. And then there's a little bit of people that then drop off, of course, when you ask for their contact data or payment details, whatever it is that you're trying to promote here. But that is basically the most important element. So first of all, super strong landing page, and I'll break that down now. And then second of all, the quiz elements. And so for the landing page, one easy hack that you can use to increase any landing page's conversion is social proof, right? Because trust is such an important factor in driving conversions. And as you can see here on the template, and as I said, these are proven, right? These are proven for what we see working for our customers. First of all, we have a reviews block right here, just showcasing some reviews. Very straightforward, makes sense. Next up, next social proof element already, we have a logo bar. So in this case, especially in B2B, we want to make sure that we have well-represented customers and clients, ideally, that we can showcase, because that in turn, one more time, generates trust. Now, from that first section, of course, there's content that also is very, very important for you to drive conversions, right? So for example, the headline just needs to be very straightforward, have a very, very strong value proposition. And the actual copywriting is also something that really, really correlates with the performance. And so that is one thing that needs to be solved individually. And that is also one of the pieces that gets me personally excited about Perspective, because as you said, right, we're sending 250 grand worth of traffic to these funnels every single month. And what I always found so annoying is that building these, the technical side of things, building funnels and making sure that they look good on mobile, that they load fast, like all of these technical problems that usually you see when working with landing page builders, they are solved. So we can always make sure that from a technical perspective, this is performance focused. Beautiful. So we as the marketers, we as the agency founders, we as the entrepreneurs can now focus on what is truly important and truly individual, which is the creative side of things. right? So how do we take the value of the customer and the offer of the customer and make sure it's really neatly communicated to the visitor of the funnel, what we're actually offering, and making sure that they actually have a desire, and we create demand for whatever we're offering.
I think that logo bar right there, I've never seen anything
Yeah.
like that. That's so cool, where you can just add that and it automatically turns it black and white and puts it in there.
Yeah,
That
dude.
is sweet.
Totally. And that is honestly, as I said, right, like just the speed that is unlocked by using product like Perspective. That is honestly what is the most valuable thing about it, because you can always, as I said, make sure that it's performing well and you're actually fast in delivering the service. And as I said, that is how we see cases like an agency scaling to $1 million a year in terms of retainers that they're charging within 6 months, because they can like literally build it out once and then duplicate it over and over again, make these changes super fast, and boom, we're good to go.
Totally.
Yeah, so there's a couple more highlights that I could point out. You see there's a lot more social proof here. We have a benefits section. We have the quiz introduced early here too. So there's many hacks and many tricks that we use to drive more conversions with that funnel. But the good thing is, when you use any of the funnel templates, as I described before, that the Perspective comes with, like, these are proven across, as I said, almost 7,000 active customers. So then let's consider we have built out this funnel. We have our first clients within the real estate niche, right? What we want to do now is we want to publish that funnel. So we come over to the publish page. In this case, then quickly customize the link. We'll do niels.perspectivefunnel.com. And in this case, let's do it /pod. Nice. Save the link. We publish that thing now. Beautiful. It's already published. So that's super fast. Let's do a mini live demo of that. What does it actually look like on a mobile environment? And I'll quickly pull that up on my phone here. So we'll do this. Let's do a live demo. We click open, and then boom, it's immediately loaded. That's the beautiful first thing. And we click accept all.
Nice.
And then we have this funnel right here, right? So we can also run through, click on the button, boom, have the quiz going, etc., etc. That's very nice. All right, and so we see that works. That's very nice. We can now send it over to the client, get some feedback here, and that's pretty dope. Now, next question is, of course, how do we promote that thing, right? Because now we have a beautiful page. We have a page that is working super well. How do we actually make sure that there's people that see this funnel? And I quickly submit a lead here as well, because now, after we've launched that funnel, what we'll see is that within the contacts area, there will be a bunch of leads rolling in, and I'll just quickly submit a lead here. 1 second. Okay, sick, sweet. We should have first lead here.
Nice.
Very good. That worked. All right. So basically now I submitted a test lead, and what we can see here, that is working nicely, right? So now we have in this case, have our CRM. We see all our leads. We see all of the different things that they answered to the questions, which is nice. We see the activity of the lead. So what is actually happening with them? Beautiful. So now that we know that works, we want to make sure that we actually prepare the campaign launch, which would be the next step. So going back to whiteboard, right? And now we have just built out that Perspective funnel that ideally has best-in-class conversion rates with the templates that we have built out here. We have set up the template. We can also set up messaging. I'll get to that maybe in a bit. But now next thing would be building out the creatives. And this is one of the things where I think many people get caught up, because building ad creatives and essentially launching the campaigns, in many people's minds, like Facebook ads and paid media is such a complex thing. It's like it's the main obstacle to building a business like this. And at the end of the day, man, I think it's oftentimes just overcomplicated, because it's actually quite straightforward. What I always recommend to new agency founders is always start out with simply doing static ads, so simple images and graphics built out in Canva, right? And I actually have built a template here and just used a template from Canva. I literally just searched for real estate, and I was like, okay, let's just get the simplest ad creative here, and I just changed the text. That is all I've done. And of course, there's many things that we could improve about this ad creative. We could add social proof again, right? It could have maybe a stronger headline and all that good stuff. But I would always start very simply by just testing the messaging. And so we could come in here in Canva. We have a first ad creative built out. The first thing that I want to test now, as I said, right, is the different value propositions. And so in this case, all I would do is I would duplicate it out a bunch of times. And we would want to start most likely a completely fresh campaign with like anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 creators, really as simple as that. Then I would come into ChatGPT, take a screenshot of this really quickly, and I would just take my main headline idea that I have, like, hey, give me 4 more direct response creative headline ideas. Now GPT should come up with different ideas. And then we just take that over and literally just take the exact same design, right? So let's see if there are any good ones in here. Sell your home without the stress. Start here, get a free price estimate, see what your NYC home is worth. Want to sell your home in 30 days. The quiz shows you how. Well, I think like that is a good one. NYC homers get top dollar for your home fast. Boom, for example. And of course, you can refine that. You can go and deeper prompting, have a little bit more context that's given to the AI, of course. And then in this case, we would just do exactly that. Come into Canva again, take one of the ad creative variations, paste it here, boom, we have a different headline. And this is literally, and as simple as it sounds, man, this is literally where I would start. When we launch a new funnel, and we're spending a lot of money on paid media, right? When we launch a new funnel, we always start with simple statics because it just doesn't make sense to invest in high production and like cool ad creatives and hire a video editor. Like simply start by testing the messaging. And once you know what works, once you have confidence, go and build it out, right? Go and potentially build video creative.
Totally. I think
Exactly.
Two other hacks here is, one of my best performing Facebook ads of all time is just an iPhone notes screenshot, right? So when I start all of my new campaigns, I usually just start with an iPhone screenshot. Just say whatever you want on there, and you could test 10 different variations of copy that way. The other thing is, if you're getting held up here, just go to the Facebook ads library and go find someone in your niche and then just figure out the ads they've been running for a really long time, right? Like steal the headlines they're already using and then just try different variations for yourself.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. Very much agree. Sweet. And so now let's just consider we have 5 different variations, 4 to 5 different variations of that ad creative built out. Beautiful. Now what we want to do is we want to actually launch these ad creatives, right? And so the next thing would be to head over to the ads manager of Facebook. And I would honestly say, like, if you're ever wondering, like, where should I run ads? I would always say start with Meta Ads, simply because it has the broadest reach and it's the easiest to manage and to set up. And we really just, all we do is set up a so-called ABO campaign, and we start with a low budget, because many clients sometimes also don't have much budget, right? So we're working, as you said, right, with 250 Gs a month. Now, most clients will come in and say, maybe I have 150, maybe I have $300 that I can invest into ads. And that is all good. We can just start with that and try to get results on that low scale before trying to invest any more money. So let's look into how to actually do that. So what you can see here is basically the ads manager within Meta. And all we want to do now within the campaign overview, you see there's a new leads campaign. I'll just quickly get rid of that. But we click the great green button. We are prompted with what type of campaign we actually want to create. In this case, we want to generate leads, right? So we always start with leads. So the heuristic to use here is always tell Meta exactly what you want to have, because they're pretty good at delivering what you're actually asking for. So if we were to click on traffic, if we click on awareness, you would most likely get a lot of clicks, but no leads. It's just how their AI works and how well it works, actually. So we select leads. We click on manual leads campaign in this case, and I quickly just run you through the setup. So we'll keep the naming. We keep everything turned off here. We just make it as simple as possible. The most important settings are actually coming then in the new lead ad set, right? So that is where we specifically define what the campaign will be. And just as a note, what I meant with ABO campaign is basically, it means ad set budget optimization. So there's a difference between CBO, which is the Advantage Budget Optimization, or Advantage Plus Campaign Budget by now. They always use fancy names for the new feature updates. But that basically, the difference is that with an ABO, we can assign on a ad set level, which is the second level here, how much money we actually want to spend. And with the other settings, so the Advantage Plus Campaign Budget, it would actually mean that we just assign something for the total campaign, and they can distribute that. Facebook or Meta can distribute that however they want onto all the different ad sets. That's the difference. But for the first launch, for the first campaign, we want to keep the control. And so that's what we're sticking with. So now that we are in these settings, all we want to do is we want to choose website in this case. Then you see there's performance goal. We want to stick with maximize number of conversions. You want to choose your data set here. So that is basically the pixel that will then integrate with the funnel. So whenever a lead is generated, Meta actually knows a lead is generated, and Meta can optimize more for the people that actually are turning to leads, right? So because they want to get you more customers. So that would need to be set up, and then we can already start setting a daily budget. And as I said, right, it's totally fine to just start with $10 a day, start with $5 a day, really however much the client can invest. People sometimes ask me, it's like, I only have $30 a day. Like, how can I even be successful, right? And at the end of the day, the only thing that daily budgets really predict is how fast you can learn. The only downside from having $5 a day instead of $30 a day is that it takes a couple of days until you know which creative will work and if that funnel is actually performing how you set it up. So It's really that. It's only compressing the time it takes to learn, the higher the budget is.
Yeah.
So let's just say we start with $5 a day. Beautiful. Then you can, of course, set your audience settings here. Like I would also suggest start broad, because Meta's ad creatives or Meta's AI is just so good at actually delivering your ad creative or delivering your ads to the people that actually are interested based on their conversion bidding. So that we set up, as I said, the data set before and send back any lead that is generated back to Meta. So we would choose the location. In this case, I'm in Berlin, Germany right now. We also adjust these settings right here, but these are just basically higher level topics to cover, in this case, legally for Meta ads. Placements, I would also say, just keep it open in the beginning. Like don't do any settings. You'll see what works. You'll see what doesn't work. And then we come to the ad. And now we definitely need to set up setting up the ad is actually the easiest part, because now all we need to do is we need to go and download our previous ad creatives that we have created. And I'll just quickly hit download to, let me see. It's just in this case, only select page 1. So we're getting that, download, boom. We have that creative being downloaded. Very good. Coming back to Meta. Now, a couple of things that we need to do here. We need to give it a name, which is quite straightforward, of course. Right. Then we set the Facebook page and the Instagram account that we want to run from. Different ways that we see working well here for customers or for clients, either like do an aggregate, like a Facebook page, like a white label Facebook page that you can run all clients under. Usually clients prefer to run it under their own account, of course, but that really depends on what is easiest. So in this case, I just unchecked multi-advertiser ads, but it's also fine to leave that on. It's really not that big of a deal. And then we select single image or format. Now here's where we want to actually enter the website URL, right? So we go back to our funnel, go back to the publish page, get the fancy URL that I just got before. Sorry, now it needs to reload quickly. There you go. To the publish page, that's my link. Go back to Meta, paste it here, boom. All right. So in this case, it now starts generating an ad already based on the social preview. And this is, of course, not what we want to stick with, right? In this case, we want to set up an ad creative. So we click on image ad, we go and upload that actual media, boom. So we can drag and drop what I just downloaded into here. Quite straightforward. Real estate ad, beautiful. Next. Now you want to make sure that all these settings that they have here, it actually looks good, because sometimes like Meta would suggest to run it as a 9:16 creative, which would look like this. Doesn't make sense. So just make sure to actually choose the settings correctly here. Yes, then the primary text and the headline is, of course, what you want to add. So this is basically what is shown with that ad creative, the text above or an IG below the actual ad creative, right? Same with the headline, the description, and then we just can continue here. Now it's actually suggesting AI images to generate on the basis of the ad creative that I just uploaded. We personally have never done it, just because it doesn't really match our design standards. And I think most of our customers also have never done it, since it's also a quite new feature. But give it a couple months, maybe at some point it will actually be quite sick. Skip and continue. Usually the enhancements, we turn all of them off. Now for the sake of this, I'm not sure if I want to click through all of these, but sometimes Meta does a little bit of weird stuff here, but we just click done and boom, there's our ad creative. Now in this case, of course, we would need the copy to come with it, right? But that is essentially all we need to do. Now we can also add UTM parameters just for some extra tracking, but it's really not that important. If you set up the integration correctly, you hit publish and boom, your campaign is live. And this is what you just repeat over and over again for the 4 or 5 different creatives that you've just generated, and you have your client live. So we just build it out. Of course, there's a little bit more content that you would need to work on, but we just build it out in half an hour. And that's essentially what the entire process looks like. It's actually that straightforward.
That's the entire service, right? So we just walked through how you can build your first funnel and build your first funnel for your clients, right? And then set up actual Facebook ads for them.
Yes.
Also choosing a niche that's going to be valuable and that they're going to need a service like this, and also keep, paying you every single month on retainer. Now, what I think would be interesting to talk about is, okay, so now we know how to fulfill the service. We know exactly what we're doing in our agency. How do we go out and find customers for this agency? And how do we actually think about charging them for this service?
It's an amazing question, man. It's an amazing question. So that is the next section here. And there's basically 2 things or 2 steps to this. I think the first step is always trying to find your very, very first customer. And I'm a big believer of that very first customer that this very first customer should come from a very unscalable source. So usually what we see most people starting out in this business is they do cold outreach to local businesses via Google Maps, for example, or they just try to source from the network. Like I have won my first agency clients through my network. My dad referred my first agency client, right? And I would always say, like, try to start with that, because at the same time, you just don't have enough proof to actually sell to many people. And so our first goal always is, once we have figured out how to actually deliver this service, is to make that very first customer successful. And so I would just say, speak about what you're actually doing, speak about you launching that business, because at some point there will be that first referral and the first chance you get if you really have zero proof to work with. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you want to skew the odds in your favor, what I would really try to focus on is volume. Similar to what you also have talked about, Nick, many times, is like how to actually do the outreach to people via Google Maps, for example, or by sourcing them. And first thing that I would do is I would just craft an offer that is really, really irresistible. Especially if you're starting out, it's also fine to just start working for free, because you just need to generate that proof. Right. It's also something that I've done, or to work for very, very low prices. Then you find their email address with that, and then with that great offer that you have just crafted, you reach out to as many people as possible that fit your target audience. And there will be, at some point, you will be lucky, and there will be the first client that you can work with.
Yeah.
And once you have that first client, work on that service like your life depends on it, because your business's life will depend on it. The earlier you can get that first client win, the sooner you can also scale your actual business. That's always what I try to tell founders that are new to this. And so once we have reached that goal, right, so to generate this one strong case study, I think the easiest untapped opportunity right now to in a scalable way win new clients for yourself is to build a case study funnel. And now we're going back to the process. Since you now learned how to actually build that funnel, there's another type of funnel that we also run super successfully for Perspective, right? So we're growing quite heavily through paid advertising. And one of the main funnels that we're running is the so-called case study funnel. And you can see it here. Like, there's different variations of the case study funnel, and you can see the different conversion rates. Some are a little bit better, some are a little bit worse. We have like 300 leads here for a 20% conversion rate, like 1,900 leads at an 18% conversion rate. So that's quite strong. And based on our rough conversion rates that we see across the board, with over 7,000 leads, roughly 5% conversion rate to customer. Now, we're a software business. We're not a B2B service business, right? So you could even get a higher conversion rate on that. That's 350 customers that we just won through this single type of funnel.
I love this. Yeah, I
Exactly.
really think that first customer, usually, even for software businesses, it comes from that hand-to-hand combat, right? So like
Yes.
Cold calling, outreach, going to your network, and honestly, like you mentioned, making that offer like so good, it's hard to say no. Like,
Correct.
you know, in the words of Alex Hormozy, but
Yeah.
like, especially with lead gen, you know, you could charge them an onboarding fee that just covers like just your minimal costs, and then charge them per lead that you send them, right? Just so you can get that initial case study, and that there's essentially no risk for them up front, right? Like, let's say you charge them $100 onboarding fee, and then, you know, $100 per lead you send them, depending on what type of service. Like the total risk is $100 that they're going to lose, right? And you're like, hey, look, I'm going to work my ass off until, you know, I make sure this works. So there's essentially no risk in it for them.
100%. And then you'll start building the confidence, and that's when you start raising your prices. Like, just reflecting on the agency journey, on my personal agency journey, like my first Facebook ads retainer was $400 a month. And so that is the first campaign that I ran that was pretty successful. Like, that person referred me to a bunch of other people. And some were successful, some were not that successful, but every one that was successful, like with every win that I personally had, I raised prices. And so at some point I was charging $3,500 for the same work that I was doing before, and I was even faster, right? And I was doing better. So that is essentially what the process is. You always want to start generating that first proof, then you want to use that proof to sell more people, and you want to raise your prices as you go. And as I said, like, I think the rough average that we have across our customer base is maybe $2.7 grand, $2,500, but it can get very much higher than that as well. So
Totally. And I think what you touched on is like the confidence part as well, right? Like, once you actually do this and you have customers, it's way easier to be confident on a sales call and be like, this is exactly what we do. This is how we can help. And we can absolutely deliver these results because we've already done it before. That's much harder when it's your first one. I get that. But that just comes with experience and getting customers. I think something else that's interesting with this is, you know, once, let's say you have your first 1, 2, 3 customers, and it's like, okay, now I'm fulfilling them, and maybe I don't want to do as much hand-to-hand combat like outreach, and maybe I have a little bit of budget now. you can absolutely use the same exact funnel method that you're using for them for your own agency, right?
Yes.
Running Facebook ads. Are you a local service business that needs more leads? Do you only want to pay for leads that we deliver to you?
Yeah.
Click on this, take this funnel. What industry are you in? There's tons of things I think you could do there.
Totally, man. Totally. 100% agree. And that's also why I personally say like building funnels and running ads is the most like the highest income skill that you can learn, just because you can apply to literally any business and make more money as a result, right? And do so very strategically and without, let's say, throwing spaghetti at the wall and just trying to see what sticks. Because yes, of course, you will need to see what funnel is the one that works best, like what ad creative is the one that works best. But you can buy distribution, and if you can get more customers back than you buy distribution for, that's a very cool growth loop that you have right there, right? So yeah, totally agree, man.
And I think this is like the thing that I love about, agencies like this or services like this is, look, it's been proven out. There's other agencies doing it. There's other agencies making millions of dollars a year doing it, right? Like you're not reinventing the wheel here. You're offering something that all businesses need. It takes a skill, right? So it's not like just anybody's going out and doing this. Yes, it's a skill that takes a little bit of time to learn, but pretty much anybody can. But this is a proven framework you can go out and build if you just, have some grit and have some hustle.
Totally. And one thing that I really love, man, we have a good, by now it's actually a friend, but a customer of ours, a client of ours, also an agency, like he's doing this as a service for agencies, right? So whenever agencies need more clients, like he spins up a case study funnel like this and wins clients for them. And how he found out about Perspective, or at least like how he got to love Perspective, is he was struggling as an agency because he wasn't able to win clients for himself. Then he spun up a case study funnel and he won, like, I think the actual numbers are 5 clients within 10 days. It's also the case study that we use everywhere, of course, but that changed his life. Like he was like, I was about to move into a smaller apartment. Then I found that case study funnel through Perspective. I ran it for myself. Now I had clients and I'm now doing the same thing for my clients because it just works so well. And that's the beautiful thing, like with the tools that we see developing with things like Perspective, with AI and all that good stuff, it's really getting easier every single day. And you can focus on the things that are actually most important. So yeah,
incredible.
Gets me very excited.
Do you think there's any niches where this won't work or that funnels don't perform as well?
It's a great question. Now, specifically for what we have built out and what we have learned, this is, as I said, very focused on lead gen, right? So Perspective funnels is not very focused on e-commerce, for example, just because e-com usually has a lot of different requirements that we are not optimizing for. Like I recently heard a podcast from the Whoop founder, billion-dollar company, and he was like, "Oh, dude, like I can't tell you how many people want Whoop to be a watch, but Whoop is not a watch." That's sometimes how I feel about Perspective not being for e-commerce, because we really double down on these service businesses, on high-ticket lead generation, which is where so much money is also being made and where agencies can make the most money as well. So that is the main use case that we're focusing on.
Yeah, which is great because, look, funnels are used everywhere, but you still want to like niche down and figure out exactly what works for service businesses, rather than what's going to work for an e-commerce funnel is not the same as what's going to work for a service business, right? I think one interesting use of funnels right now is in, the mobile app craze. So like if you go to sign up for Cal AI or any of these like similar AI mobile apps, you don't just sign up for them, right? You get taken down a quiz funnel that's like, what are your fitness goals? What is this? What's your current weight? What's your goal weight? And, you spend like 5 minutes going through this funnel. And at the end, they're usually giving you some sort of like answer, like result, but you have to sign up to actually get that result. And it's like, I already sunk all of this cost or time into filling out this funnel. Of course I'm going to sign up now, right? Because I want to see my answer.
Totally. And that's such an interesting point that you mentioned right there, man, because we just took these concepts, these psychological triggers and these tricks like sunk cost through quizzes and implemented it onto funnels for lead generation. Now we see it happen everywhere where performance is important, right? So as you said, in app onboardings, right? The first thing, like I think Iman Gadzi recently bought consulting.com. The first thing that he did was he now has a quiz on the main page, right? To qualify people and to get that sunk cost bias going. So like you see it happen everywhere, wherever performance is at the forefront. And so that's a very good addition, man. 100%.
Well, I think there's going to be a link in the description, right? If anyone wants to try out Perspective, I think you're giving it 30 days away for free. Is that right?
Yes, as a thank you, man, for hosting us, and as a thank you for your audience as well, we're giving away 30 days of Perspective for free instead of 14 days. That's the usual trial. So feel free to click the link in the description or within the sheet if it's available as well.
Beautiful. I appreciate it, man. Anything you want to leave us with?
Just nothing much that I haven't shared so far, but just that this is an incredible opportunity that we're looking at here, and I'm super happy if I could help anybody get started with this. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out anytime. And of course, thanks so much for having me, my man.
Thanks, Niels.